Good evening, everyone, and welcome along to WOR Legacy Division. We are here tonight for season number 2. It is round 13 of the championship as we take in the Brazilian Grand Prix from, of course, the Autodromo Jose Carlos Pache. My name is James Head, and I'm going to be taking to the stream tonight as your lead commentator. Jota sadly not with us because of work commitments. Joining me in the commentary box, though, is the GOAT of Xbox, arguably. It is Mr. Joseph. Joseph, how you doing?
Yeah, really appreciate those words, James. Hello, everybody. It's great to be back. Considering just half an hour ago, I was enjoying a spaghetti bolognese and trying to prove my identity to Rishi Sunak. But such is life. But I'm here. I'm really looking forward to this one, James.
Yeah, it should be great. It should be great. Of course, we've got Q1, Q2, and Q3. And if you're wondering about the team standings coming into tonight, well, let me tell you them. It is PSR leading the way on 327 points. Talent Factory in second on 322. And that means there is only a 5-point gap separating PSR and Talent Factory coming into tonight. Outplayed Racing in third on 176. One of their drivers has got a qualifying ban, which we'll come on to in just a second. Visceral Racing in fourth on 123. Team Jizu in fifth on 116. Nexus Racing in sixth on 73. Juventus Racing in seventh on 66. Then a bit of a jump down to Team Valor in eighth on 37th. They've had some very consistent results, however. WR in 9th on 31. They are both not here tonight because of existing commitments, especially with exams. And Summit Racing Team SRT in 10th, or SLR, I should say, in 10th on 25 points. And Joseph, you haven't been around this season, of course, for Legacy Division. PSR and Talent Factory, though, separated by 5 points before we come into the action tonight. Just comes to show how close it's been between the two teams.
Yeah, it's an incredible development, really, because PSR went the first 3 races without a win, and in 6 of their last 8, they have managed to take victory. An unbelievable turnaround. Of course, they can clinch the championship tonight should they outscore, Talent Factory. I think it's 39 they need, and then they'd win on countback, because obviously that's 46 points that would take them up to in terms of an advantage. But yeah, if they can get it done, it would be an incredible turnaround. They put on some brilliant strategical displays, some brilliant racecraft for us this season. And all I've got to say is for the final 2 rounds, may the best team win.
Yeah, may the best team win indeed. We are now going to take in the track action before, of course, we introduce you to the track, which is, of course, the Brazilian Grand Prix. 4.3 kilometre length, 2.6 mile, 15 turns, of course, right now. Drivers out on track with the 2 DRS zones, 1 down the start finish straight in towards turn number 1 at the Centre S, and 1 down in towards turn number 4 at the Cida de Largo, of course, famously where we had Verstappen and Hamilton making contact coming through there in 2021. Don't want to see scenes of that tonight. However, though, given how close it's been between PSR and Talent Factory, I would not be surprised if that happens and replicates itself again.
Yeah, I've seen it before, of course, over in NRC, where it got very, very close indeed with the same sort of championship on the line. So I would not rule out any event of controversy tonight. But of course, at Sao Paulo, home of many Formula One finales, many Formula One championship deciders, it is just in the blood, in the nature of this circuit.
It is in the blood and nature of the circuit, indeed. And speaking of the blood and nature of this circuit, let's have a look then at the on-track action that is currently going. Joseph also saying in the chat there, he meant 44 points. His maths clearly not counting. That's why he had to prove an identity to Rishi Sunak earlier on. Down towards the left-hander through turn number 1 and through the right-hander turn number 2, and then through the left-hander once again of turn number 3. On the run down the Retroposter, of course, in towards the Cida Largo. Yona is the first one out on track. Everyone is on a set of intermediate compound tyres, so they're not going to be as quick as what we're going to see through the midpoint and toward the end of Q1, of course. Qualifying ban as well to mention, which I mentioned a little bit early on. Nando is the one that has got that qualifying ban. So for OP, they are at least going to be down 1 driver here tonight out of Q1. Nando's a very consistent driver, so we'll watch out for him later on in the race. As Yona now comes to the left-hander of turn number 9, in towards Laranja, translators to orange, of course, from Spanish to English, coming in toward the right-hander now of turn number 10 on board with Yona. Has taken a championship around here in the past in his league racing careers. He now comes to the left-hander of 11 and in towards Jun South turn number 12. 54.4, well off what we should be seeing in terms of lap times, it's normally around a 5-second difference on the dries between a set of inters and then a set of dry compounded tyres a little bit later on. As Yona now is on the run toward the line, expecting around a 111, 112, I think, with this lap on the run to line with Yona. Yeah, 111.4 to start off the night. Not electric, but given that Chris has just gone 5 tenths quicker, and Nando just retiring there in the pit lane, means that JR are currently cooking and want to, and I would take a photo because it might last longer.
Yeah, it's nice to see, ironically, drivers take pride in their intermediate laps, but why not? Everybody almost does it, and so if you go out there, get a competitive lap time, and you feel like you've achieved something in the session, but can they translate it, of course, to the slick compound pace? That is, of course, going to be the most important question. Asikome taking it a bit easier, you could argue 12.0 TV8. 11.7, big snap on board with Wilson as he finishes sector 2. Now purple in the middle sector, did go well off the circuit, might bring this one in or take the timing beam. He is going to take the timing beam, and what can PSR Wilson kick us off with? It is still a lap good at our 4th first place on those intermediate tyres.
Yeah, and given that he's taken the Kimi Räikkönen line coming out of turn number 11 as well, that's not actually a bad run from Wilson with the 110.8. Obviously, we're going to see quicker laps as we go on. Stokey's invalidated, I believe, or he certainly made a mistake in the first sector, so he is slow on his lap. Zinity as well for NLX is currently out there. Everyone is going for that set of soft compound tyres a little bit later on. Haven't actually heard what the weather is going to be doing in chat, so let me know if you do know what the weather is going to be doing, rather than the fake fallacies that we get, of course, from the Met Office these days here in the UK. Zinity in the middle sector, 55 flat in the middle, looking not too bad at all. Jam is also out there on an outlap as well. Plenty of support coming in as well for the Griff, Stokey and Flo getting support there from Matex. Shazoo Frankie has just popped up in the chat, and Zinity not happy with that lap on that set of inters. I mean, it's not going to be a great lap on a set of inters, and he's decided to come in the pit lane and try and maybe just hang on a little bit, hang fire in terms of the pace that he might be showing, as Jam has just come to the left hand of turn number 9, and he is now the first one on a set of soft compounded tyres.
Yeah, this is a huge opportunity tonight for SLR, of course, with no WOR here this evening, and with only 2 elimination spots in Q1. It is a really good opportunity to get off the foot of the Legacy Division team standings. They're 6 points behind WOR as it stands, and dare I say, they even try and catch TV8. They need a really stellar performance either tonight or enough to take it to next week, as SLR Jam might well get the quickest lap of the session here in as he makes his way through the ZRSs. No, never mind.
What was that you said about 5 seconds ago? He's going to set the quickest lap, and I was literally about to butt in and say he's just got to keep it within the white stuff. Hasn't even kept out the white stuff coming through turn number 2, unfortunately, and that is just a real handful coming through that corner. It oversteers the car, and he looks like he's got a very dodgy setup on, I've got to be honest, from an SLR perspective. Spinning through turn number 2, you don't normally spin that often out on track, but when you do through there, very easy to do, and Jam, hoping to get a lap on the board. He's obviously not going to be quicker than Wilson and Chris at this moment in time, but Jam is still out there on a lap, and it's still a valid lap, which is the most important thing. WR Season 14 champion has just joined us. Consultia champion, of course, in Smokey has just joined us there in the chat. Hope you're doing well, my friend, on that pursuit, of course, for F1 Esports Challenges, which I know is going to be coming next year. Wilson, though, out on top from Chris in 2nd. Stokey there in 3rd, not Smokey. Yona there in 4th. Flo in 5th, and Asicum in 6th, with the 6 drivers that we've currently set lap times, with Jam in that middle sector, setting a very leisurely 113.8, which is, I think, what I'd be setting around here.
Don't be too harsh on yourself. I'd say I'm a bit capable of going quicker, but, you know, maybe in these sorts of high-pressure situations, I'd probably flop on the first attempt. However, SLR Jam is going again here, again through the ZRS. If he was to spin again, which he doesn't, we'd have been talking maybe about a fundamental problem with his setup. But he's through unscathed and making his way down now into Desida de Largo, where he's almost 14 seconds up on his lap.
Yeah, 14 seconds up, and he spins coming out of turn number 4 at the Cedar de Lago. Cannot catch a break here tonight. Can SLR Jam jamming out, I'm sure, to tunes there in the cockpit of that Williams. But in the end, he has to get out of the way because I think there are drivers now coming back out on outlaps. Another Juventus Racing team are out on track with Yona and Chris, who I think is just coming out the pit lane right now. But Jam needs to catch a break on that lap time. Again, through turn number 4 to left-handed corner, you are going to be oversteering the car, and that is unfortunate, I think, for Jam. And whatever SLR have given them in terms of a setup, they may as well just bang on a brand new setup or a default setup, I think, at this stage, because that is clearly not working for the man in the Williams.
Yeah, and they're going to have to get a new set of soft tyres on that thing as well. You don't really want to be wasting too many sets early on in qualifying, because if you do have the opportunity to get to Q2 and Q3, you'll be left in a little bit of a difficult situation. His teammate Elite Risks heading out there on the circuit. We've got soft laps starting now. JR Jonah currently up in 4th place. A few others out there on our laps as well, most notably PSR Sav and PSR Wilson for the championship leaders. Just 5 points in it if you're joining us this evening, having no idea what you've missed so far this season. But PSR Sav about to take us away for a scintillating lap, you'd assume, of Sao Paulo.
Yeah, let's run on board with them, in fact, in towards the left-hander of turn number 1, in towards the centre S, of course, at turn number 2. We'll run on board with the PSR man. Just catches the curb slightly off camber there. Just catch the angle off the curb through turn number 2 and 3 safely. Now down the retroposter once again. The DRS is now enabled, of course, in this qualifying session with being dry. And at first sector of a 16.7, actually about 2 tenths quicker than what I was riding on board with Yona, as he's nearly wide coming out at turn number 4. Just gets the Red Bull to the right-hand side for good measure as well. In towards Ferradur at turn number 6, and Sav has decided to back out. And honestly, if I was in his shoes right now, I would have. And he is doing the very high revving glitch. The what's it called? The glitch. I've got the real name for it, but it's just escaped me. Anyway, it's a high revving glitch, and it saves a lot of fuel. As Yona goes quickest with a 108.2, so not a bad lap there at all from him. Sav, though, backing out on his lap, which is unfortunate. Wilson, however, is on a run. He's 6 tenths up in the first sector and has to avoid a spinning Aston Martin.
Absolutely, loads of drivers struggling out there at the moment. PSR Wilson, for his sake, I hope he's not one of them, because he needs to get a lap time here. There's many drivers falling into the high pressure track, most notably Sav, and of course SLR Jam that we've been riding on board with. He's now up to P4, but it's a slow lap on worn soft tyres. Wilson, though, has a 7.999 to beat, and Wilson 2.8 seconds up as he rounds Junsao. The final proper corner, you could argue, you've got 3 more from now up until the line, where it's full throttle from here. He'll hug the inside line using some of that rumble strip to propel his McLaren up to the line. Now that absolutely smash Elite Risk lap time out of the park. 3/10 advantage at the moment.
Yeah, very good first sector there from Wilson. Very good lap, in fact, from Wilson. 107.5. Very good first sector coming in from TF Max, who's down there in 18th position right now. So Ferrari has to try and get on with things. Legend as well is actually furthest on a lap. 50.8 in the middle sector. He's absolutely flying, is Legend. Now on the run toward the line. Famous, of course, for being more on PC, and actually goes quicker by a good 10.5 of a second over Wilson. So big statement lap there from Legend. What is Max doing as he now comes through the left-hand return of 11? Asacom has just gone 3rd. Elite Risks there in 4th. 51.1 in the middle sector for Max is not too bad, but it's not as quick as what we saw with Legend in that middle sector. So expect Max to go probably in between Asacom and Elite Risks, I think, with this lap. The Ferrari man now coming towards the line as Sad now goes into 2nd. Only 400ths of a second off on Legend. Max to the line, goes 5th. Actually goes ahead of Asacom by 300ths of a second. Very close qualifying already. Currently at this stage, though, VSR Axe is the only one to drop out at the moment of Q1, because of course the top 15 goes through, so there's one spot on the line. Tom might be in trouble, Jensen might be in trouble as well. Shizou need to really act up their game as Axe now comes through the final couple of corners on the run toward the line now with the VSR man. VSR really needs some good points coming out of tonight, and Axe comes to the line and goes 4th ahead of Lucas. Not a bad statement lap there at all from the Mercedes. And both Jensen and Tom has backed off his lap. Jensen 51.1 in the middle sector. He's now on the run to the line. Should be going around Elite Risk. Chris sort of area, I think, with this lap on the run to the line. Goes 4th ahead of Axe. Good lap from him. Should see him through to Q2.
Important lap indeed, and Shizou Tom doesn't look like he's pushing here as he gets back into the pit lane. He's got work to do. He'll have to come out again on a fresh set of soft tyres. Shizou Tom, who's been a huge part of Shizou's recent roster, certainly now has to really show what he is made of. As well, it's an exciting top three at the moment. Legend, Sav and Wilson. 2 PSR taking on 1 Talent Factory. And TF Max down in P7 also. A little bit like Sav, you could argue. An F1 Esports aspirer, just at that younger age where he's not yet eligible to participate. But when he does, he'll be right up there with the very best indeed. I like these lineups this evening. A mixture of expertise and youth.
Yeah, definitely so. And of course, Talent Factory Max, if you didn't catch it, in the other big league here on the PlayStation, which I'm not going to name on live stream, you know which one it is. Max, though, in 7th currently, he actually wrapped up the F1 Championship in PSGL as of Monday. So he has got some very good form, that youthful experience coming into play. He is going to be a shining light, I think, going forward, especially onto F1 23. Sav there complaining in the Discord as well. Little bit of comments from him. Cheers has, so I'm guessing both Juventus Racing drivers, or at least one of them, might have blocked potentially on a lap. Zenity has left the session there, maybe to get a new setup if it is going to have, if we are going to have a little bit of rain in this race. Jam currently sitting in the danger zone. 109 flat is his lap time. He should be going quicker though than the likes of Flo, the likes of Stokey and LeGriff potentially in terms of his lap. So expect the SLR man to improve. Tom there with the 117.7. Not great from Tom's perspective. However, he is a man that is normally a one-lap merchant. And if we see that, and if we see that one-lap merchant coming in from Tom's perspective, I highly suspect he's going to be in Q2.
Yeah, after the drive on Twitter, I see saying, just complaining about the bad luck that he often gets, but this time it is in his hands. There's nobody else really out there at the moment other than him and Jam on the circuit. He's got to really focus and just nail down a Q2 spot here, even if a corner's scruffy. Just pass through it and just give yourself enough time, enough buffer. Because if he does go wrong on this first lap, he's actually left himself 2 minutes 40 to maybe try again here. So, with the amount of fuel you get on board as well here in Interlagos, Tom has 2 attempts at getting off of the final qualifying spot at the moment.
Yeah, and so does this man here, who we've had wretched luck on board with so far. But tonight, it is, of course, SLR Jam. He's there in 15th, currently in the danger zone. As I mentioned, he is going to be currently qualifying into Q2, however, as it stands with Tom's 117.7. 69 in the first sector, not too bad. 800 down in the first sector. Now coming out to see the logo at turn number 4. At least he's made it further on than what we did last time around with him, as he now comes up the hill and toward the right-hand turn number 6 at Ferradura. Now seems very honed in, I've got to say. In terms of the setup, the sun just beginning to blink into the cloud, into the sun visor as well of the drivers. Now coming downhill in toward the left-hander of turn number 9, and then in towards Laranhau at turn number 10. Not looking like a bad lap, but that car is just edging out to the left-hand side, looking up on the brakes there. Jam very uncomfortable, I think, coming through that corner. Now through 11 and 12 in towards Junsao. 51.8 in the middle sector. It's not too bad, but I think he's shoehorning himself, I think, potentially to be out of Q1 here with Tom on a lap as well. We'll compare Tom's lap in a second, as now Jam is on the run towards the line through the left hand of turn 15, on the run to the line, and he doesn't even improve ahead of Yona, so Jam is in wretched look at this stage. Tom in the middle sector, 51 flat, bit of a snap there coming out of Junsao at turn number 12, now through to beat those boxes at turn 14, and then down the hill in towards turn 15 once again, and we'll see what Tom can do. This should be easily into Q2, and it is. He goes fourth, 107.5, never in doubt. One lap merchant qualifies. Jam looking like he's backed off his lap as well, so that means the SLR man with, 50 seconds to go, looks like he's out.
Yeah, that's Jam out of qualifying then, and those in front of him, if they receive the message, they'll know just to bring it in easy. If you, of course, do crash out on your final lap, then you will not be able to take any further part in qualifying, even if you qualify in the top 15. JR Chris has already pulled it into the pit lane. Jonah is going to carry on here just in case. On the cusp at the moment, moves up ahead of his teammate, not by much, 16 1,000ths of a second in there. NRX Lagrif then coming up to the line and again jumps both of those drivers and Elite Risks as well for good measure. TV8 though, 14th and 15th in this qualifying session. Can they though give themselves something to work with moving up the order? FRA Stokey hasn't. TV8 Flow 2 100ths down out there as well, so maybe TV8 a team to really watch out for coming into Q2, as their Q3 hopes, based on this session, not looking too strong.
Yeah, not looking too strong at all. Flow with the sun visor, the sun really catching the visor there, coming into my eyesight as well. On board with him down the hill and towards turn 15. He should go probably in around his lap time. Yeah, 2 tenths off in the end. Not really improving. Doesn't really matter. He's through into Q2. Jam, unfortunately, the one out by 4/10 of a second. 53 of you, by the way, tuned into Legacy Division tonight so far. It is because of the return of Joseph. I absolutely no doubt. Maybe because Jota's missing as well. But it is Legend out on top. It's Sav there in second. Wilson there in third. From Legacy Division in Q1. Big shock, I've got to say, potentially. Max and Asacom, 8th and 9th position. I normally commentate on them pretty regularly, I've got to say. And Max and Asacom are normally quicker than what they've shown there in Q1. They're 3/10 of a second off Legend. 3/10 of a second off the PSR boys as well. If I was in their shoes right now, I'd be a little bit worried because they could be on the brink of going out in Q2.
Yeah, possibly. Of course, we do mention the unknown weather factor at the moment. Could it be because of a tweak in setup, maybe focusing on what the race has to bring? At this moment, we don't really know. Of course, strong performance so far from VSR with Axe and Lucas, the two Challengers drivers. Axe, who is still very much in contention, if possible, for the Pro Exhibition. He'd dearly love to be there, and his performance in Britain was one that was immensely popular among drivers as well. He's given it everything here tonight, so he gives himself that, of course, platform for Tuesday night for the Xbox guys. And VSR as well, sitting 4th in the Teams Championship on 123 points, just 7 ahead of Shazoo. They're looking to try and extend that margin. They'll be up against Tom and Jensen, who are directly in front of them at the moment. Legend, McLaren, Alpine, Mercedes, and then TF Max in the other Ferraris. We're forming a very big sandwich filling there.
We are indeed. We are indeed. The talent factory filling, I think we can call it. Asacom to fill off that in 9th at Le Griff there, rounding off the top 10 with Elite Risk in 11th. Yona and Chris getting through into Q2. Pretty much 1600 of a second separating both their drivers as well. Stokey and Flo are the 15 drivers that are going to continue on into Q2. Jam, Nando and Zinity are out. Nando because of qualifying ban. Zinity unfortunately couldn't get lap time in either. And Jam right down at the back of the field, just knocked out in Q1 just because of a lack of pace. We will go back to our advert, of course, from the Williams Esports Lounge. We'll be back with you in 30 seconds. Welcome back, everyone, to WOR Legacy Division. Of course, that was a word from our sponsor, of course, the Williams Esports Lounge. Of course, our traditional Q1 interlude there. We now get forward into Q2, and everyone rushing out onto the track. Given that there's no chance of rain in this full qualifying session, we have got all dry throughout the 3 sessions, but drivers do want to get out, and that means they want to try and get a little bit of rubber basically on the track, given how most of them want a set of inters in the first half of qualifying.
Yeah, good chance. Some used tyres out there as well at the moment. It's impossible to tell until they've set their laps, really. You can't really tell from the surface of the tyre like you can in real life. But however, that does make for a very exciting prospect, as some drivers will be out there just getting their first lap in on the board and making sure it's competitive, an anchor that they feel confident with, and others just laying down some rubber. We'll go for it towards the end of the session. Always different approaches as we go through Q2. The sky is still grey overhead, but hopefully the lap times will be shining bright.
Yeah, let's run on board with PSL Sav. He's further down in the queue. He's about 4th, I think, to come across the line. Chris has just gone up on his run along with Le Grip, but we'll run on board with Sav because I have a feeling he is going to be the man to set the early pace in this qualifying session. We'll turn the timing tower off on the left-hand side. We'll update it, of course, as we get to the end of this lap with Sav coming to the left-hand of turn number 1, through the right-hand of turn number 2. That car looking like it's going to step out once again, coming on the right-hand curb, now through the left-hand of turn number 3 at the centre S, and then down in towards turn number 4 at Prix de Lago. And a 16.8 in the first sector indicates to me he might be on a used set of tyres rather than a fresh set. We should be seeing 16.1, 16.2s toward the end of Q3, one would expect. The Sav now comes in towards Ferradura at turn number 6, now through the right-hander at turn number 7, and then in towards the right-hander of turn number 8, has now come into the middle point of that, pretty much the highest point of the track here in Brazil as well. Quite a lot of elevation change, around 30 metres, I believe, the elevation change here in real life. Now coming to the right-hander of turn number 10, and then in towards the end of the middle sector through 11, and again, the car just beginning to snap out there on Sav. His middle sector, not electric, 51.4, looks like he's on a used set of tyres. Now coming to the left-hand of Jun Sao at turn number 12, he's on the run toward the line as Chris has had a lap time number 108 flat, so that is the iron mark time to beat with Sav. We'll get the timing tower up to confirm the lap time on the left-hand side as well. Sav now comes to the line, and in the end, he does go quickest by 600ths of a second over Prix. Wilson is now coming toward the line as well. Got a little bit of fake slipstream, and he does go quicker than Sav. So early on, PSR on top, Max on the Legend on the run to the line. Legend looks like he's quicker than Max in the middle sector. TF Max now on the run towards the line. He goes second. Very good lap from him. Legend now on the run to the line. Shum may go quickest, but he doesn't. He goes third, 107.9. So early on, it's PSR, Talent Factory, PSR, and then Shazoo Tom filling out in P5. Jensen now down in P7. Flo now on the run to the line, going 13th, and Stokey is the only one that has invalidated this first run. But it's Wilson out on top, Max in second, Legend in third, and it's the PSR Talent Factory fight that we all wanted.
It just cannot be separated, can they? And, well, hardly anything in that between Wilson, Max, Legend, and Sav. Of course, the true pace will be revealed at the end of Q2. Again, tyre wear can't really infer from these sorts of lap times. We'll soon see. Of course, FRA Stokey of Team Valor going again then, as he looks to try and better, and his team try to better that Q1 outcome. 17.0 in the first sector through Desida de Lago. He goes to the flat out left off turn 5, and then again another climb. The track narrows, a very difficult place to get your overtake done in the race. Up through the double right then, 6 and 7, Ferradura through 8, and he loops back down through 9. A complete roller coaster here in the middle part of the circuit. Of course, we're situated in between two lakes, Interlagos, the literal translation of that one. It makes for a picturesque setting as again he just banks that Red Bull down the corner, trusting the grip of the car, the ground effect in these 2022 F1 cars to do its job. Up towards the line then, and we'll have DRS open very, very shortly. There it goes, the very powerful DRS in that Red Bull, but will it play dividends for him here? P11 it is, but it's not enough on that second attempt.
Yeah, and look at the gap as well between Asacum and Stokey. I'd be very worried if I was in the bottom 5 right now, because there's, what, 3.5 tenths of a second covering Asacum to Stokey? And that, for a bit of a danger zone time, is massive around a track like this. Normally you take the big effects of the lap times very early on here. And with Elite Risk, Yona, Flo, and Lucas all behind, Lucas probably the one I think that is going to improve more than anyone in this qualifying session so far. Remember, they are on, I believe, used set of tyres. Everyone's going to be going on a fresh set, which means that they're going to be really weathering the storm in terms of the tyres. A little bit later on in the session, as Stokey's gone for a spin, coming out the left-hand of turn number 9, maybe just starting and profiling like Ric Flair in the past in WWE, but Stokey now coming in toward the right-hander of turn number 10 has just spun there, coming through turn number 9. At least it was on his down lap and not on his actual lap, indeed, from the FRA, man. But yeah, back to my point, I mean, he's, what, 0.3 of a second off Asacum. I'd be very worried if I was the bottom 5 right now, because if they can find, what, 0.3 of a second from somewhere, I'd be very, very surprised given the level of talent that they've got ahead of them.
Yeah, there's quite a big gap at the moment, like you say, 0.3 between Asicome and Stokey. Of course, if you're sitting in the garage looking at those timing sheets, you're thinking, oh, okay, 0.3 around Sao Paulo is not the same as 0.3 around Spa. Of course, a lot shorter in terms of time it takes to get around the circuit. So yeah, not an ideal situation for those in the bottom 5, but in the top 5, however, PSR Sav has just started his latest run. There's a Ferrari coming out of the pit lane, makes way nice and easily due to the difference in speed, and look at that in the first sector alone, 1.5 tenths up for PSR Sav. He is absolutely flying.
He is indeed, and it looks like he's on a fresh set of soft compound tyres as well, just the boot as he now comes through the right-hander of turn number 6 at Ferradura, now towards the right-hander of turn number 8. Yes, I miscounted there. Through the left-hander of turn number 9, and then towards the right-hander of turn number 10. It's Wilson, Max, Legend currently atop 3. If you are just tuning in, this is Legacy Division WOR style, and it is season number 2, round 13 here in Brazil, the penultimate round of the championship. Is Sav in the middle sector, huge 50.7 in the middle sector, big snap of oversteer catching the curve through Jun Sao as well, luckily to keep the car alive as he now comes to the left hand of 14 on the run down the hill and towards turn 15. It's Wilson, Max and Legend, but not for long, because Sav is going to absolutely blitz them at this lap time, 107.2. That's more like it in terms of a lap time around here. The Griff as well going in third. Talent Factory Max, I believe, is next set up on a run. He actually comes across the line to go on to his run. Legend 16.6 in the first sector, and Wilson's actually even quicker than Sav in the middle sector. 50.7 in the middle sector from Wilson, and the PSR team are absolutely cooking right now as they are now coming into the final couple of corners. JL Chris there going second, but it's not for long because Wilson comes to the line and he blows Sav out of the water. 300th of a second clear. PSR, don't know what they've been given, whether it's Weetabix or any other cereal brand. Wilson and Sav are absolutely playing this to perfection.
Cooking a full English, you could argue, but the Dutchman TF Legend, can he respond to those blistering lap times in the low 1 minutes 7s? TF Legend up to the line, then a very distant slipstream, but will be enough. Yes, it is. 100th in it between him and PSR Wilson. An outstanding effort under pressure. TF Max also half a second up, and that could be enough to make it a 1-2, a 1-3, a 1-4. Who knows at this point? He powers up to the line then in his scarlet red Ferrari. What can he do? He goes second by 1,000th of a second compared to his teammate. This is historical stuff here in the Legacy Division.
This is mad, and we've still got 5 minutes and 50 seconds to go Q2 and all of Q3 to come. Are they playing a little bit early? I don't know, but whatever we're seeing out on track, it's absolutely fantastic, and we want more. We want more, as Elite Risk is now up the run in towards turn 15, or turn 14, and then into the left-hander of turn 15. He's 7.5 tenths up on his lap, so should go around Lucas LeGriff sort of area with this run. Elite Risk goes actually ahead of Chris. Big lap time in from the SLR man, going 6th position. Many drivers actually invalidating on their runs. Axe is in on a run now, and he's 4 tenths up in that middle sector, 50.9. He's quicker than Elite Risk through that middle sector. The likes of Yona, the likes of Asacom as well, is in the danger zone, down in 12th position, 108.222. He has got 500th of a second basically to find on Jensen to get out of the danger zone. Legend feels he's done enough. I don't blame him. Axe feels like he's done enough as well with the 107.4. Big lap time in from him. Goes clear there from Elite Risks, but in the end, Jensen, Asacom, currently out of qualifying as it stands. Yona is now the only one, I believe, on an outlap, and he has got a big mountain to climb if he wants to get out of Q2. Juventus Racing Team, though, have been cooking recently in other events a lot, being covering the NLR Esports League event as well, and Juventus have been doing fantastic. Chris, of course, a new signing there. Yona I've known very, very well over the last couple of years, and he is now on the run down and towards turn number 1 with an eye potentially for Q3.
Absolutely. Axe and Elite Risk setting that lap times, their lap time, sorry, on their second run on their set of tyres. So, yeah, big buffer down to Shazoo Jensen at the moment in P11 on a 108.173. Jonah, I think, might be pushing out there at the moment. He's coming up. Jura certainly burning his ERS slightly wide at the first part of the corner. Not convincing. Didn't really get back to the apex, invalid anyway, and it's an absolute nightmare out there at the moment. Chris, not in the safest of spots either, though they can all get out there for another run, and Jonah could do so as well.
Yeah, Yona, I think, will probably do so on the next run, and then try and take the Axe and Elite Risk sort of line and go for a second run on that to the soft compound side. Jensen is now the man that is only out there on an outlap. I believe, as I say, Yona is going to go for a lap time. Keki there saying in the chat, the NLR Esports man, and of course the F1 Esports Challengers Reserve, say Max is also cracked at Fortnite apparently. Now I haven't seen his Fortnite skills. Unfortunately, we're just limited to the Formula 1 skills that he's got to try and give us. And his Formula 1 skills, I've got to say, are very, very good. 1,000th of a second off Legend, quicker than both PSR boys. He is absolutely cooking. Is Max. Now Yona is predictably, as I mentioned, going to go for a second run on the run down in towards turn number 1. We'll run on board with him for throughout the first half of this lap, and then we'll flick on board with Jensen. Crispy there saying in the chat, why are the times so slow? Well, I think the times are so slow because of this cloud cover over the circuit. The tyres are not getting the grip as one might imagine on this, and with the 107.2, we should be seeing, what, 106.8s, 106.9s potentially at this stage. But with this cloud cover hanging over the circle, the sun just breaking through, actually, coming through the right-hander at turn number 7, it really gives a chance, I think, for everyone to be on an even playing field. And I think that is what we all want, not only as viewers of the sport, but certainly as us as commentators, as Jensen through the first sector, 16.7 up on his time.
Yeah, of course, the time of day can always have an impact as well. Just subtle changes in the weather could often influence lap times. But Yona is absolutely flying here on his second lap on that set of tyres, though. Will it be enough? He could either pit now and maybe make a quick turnaround. He's committed. It's his final lap in the session, and it won't be enough for Juventus Racing's Yona as he just misses out on the top 10. It wasn't enough, and if he... Well, I don't assume he has any more fuel left in that car. The red light flashing at the moment. Jensen, of course, looking to respond, and he's 6/10 up at the moment. Can he move towards his teammate Shizou Tom on a 107.396? Shizou Jensen to the line then, and he goes 7th with a 107.458. That could be enough to see both Shizou drivers into the top 10 for the final part of qualifying. Drivers at risk still include Chris, who is starting his lap at the moment. Elite Risk slightly up in the first sector, and many more still to come.
Yeah, many more still to come, including the man I'm going to focus on. It is OP Asacom, and Asacom needs this lap for Outplayed Racing. 0.3 of a second off Yona, currently 0.5 of a second off the cutoff. Big uphill task here for Asacom, but as long as he's on a fresh set of tyres, he should do really well. 16.7, backs that up in the first sector. Now coming to the left-hand of turn number 4 at Cedar de Lago. Now through the left-hand of 5 on the run-up towards turn number 6. But right on board with Asacom throughout this lap, because he is probably the main man that is at risk right now for going out in Q2, and if he doesn't invalidates, that is it for Asacom. Now coming to the left-hander of turn number 9, then in toward the right-hander of turn number 10. He is just slightly lagging slightly on this lap, but this is a big lap from Asacom. He needs this for the OP team. Coming in toward the left-hander of the middle sector, and Asacom in the middle sector, oh, he's huge, 50.7 in the middle sector, and that's, oh, there's a big snap coming out of turn number 12. I was going to say it could get him towards Jensen Elite Risk sort of area. Might be not, because he's going to lose speed all the way down the straight now, even with this DRS. Now enabled on the run toward the line with Asacom, and he goes 5th ahead of Tom. It was never really in doubt. He goes actually clear of the Shizou man by 0.05 of a second. So Asacom is clean through into Q2. Elite Risk you were mentioning, I think backed off his lap. He's 0.05 up out of the first sector.
TV8 flow, bottom of the timesheets at the moment, will be the next to cross the line as the checkered flag falls here for the second part of qualifying. Flow crosses the line. It's only 12th fastest, and Stokey is not pushing as well. His qualifying is over. Team Valor's qualifying is over. And Elite Risks, I did mention, there's a real opportunity for SLR to get off the bottom tonight there. Also 12 points behind TV8. He could be the man to try and take them off the bottom tonight. That Griff, 1.5 tenths up at the moment. That certainly won't be enough as it stands, though I could be proved wrong. It all depends on the exit. Coming out of Junsao, be gaining or losing time all the way to the line here. Lagarif to cross the line, and it's P13 for him. It's not enough. Knocks Stokey down. An additional place to add to his troubles. Axe out there as well. He's backed off. He's 7th. And that was important. Both Visceral Racing drivers into Q3.
Yeah, fantastic lap from Lucas. In the end, scraped through by, what, 600th of a second over Chris. Chris, in the end, only out by 400ths of a second out of Q2. The big shock, I've got to say. going into Q3, that man Elite Risk came in with a very early lap, sat in the pit lane, I think, for the last couple of minutes, and then ended up improving in terms of his last lap time. Big run there from the SLR man. He gets through into Q3. Fantastic effort from the SLR team. They're, I think, one of their first qualifyings, I think, within the Q3 here in Legacy Division. Absolutely fantastic and well deserved. It is Legend, however, out on top by only 1,000th of a second. Wilson there in behind in third with Sav in fourth. 400ths of a second covering the front four. Are we going to get any closer in Q3? I wonder. Who knows? Asacom in fifth with Tom there in sixth, Axe there in seventh, Jensen there in eighth, Lucas there in ninth, and then Elite Risks rounding off the top 10. And in the end, out of Q2, it is of course Chris, Flo, LeGriff, who didn't do enough. I thought he was going to improve in that final sector. In the end, didn't. Stokey there in 14th, and then Yona right down the back of the field by 0.2 of a second off the back of Stokey. Very interesting qualifying session that. Talent Factory topped it. PSR there third and fourth, Joseph. It's going to lead to potentially one of the best Q3s I think we've seen all season.
Yeah, you can't read anything into a margin of 400ths of a second. It could go either way to any one of the four drivers in the fight for pole position. 12 minutes on the clock then. A couple of runs, maybe even 3 runs at stake here if the drivers can time it right. If they can, they'll have every possible advantage to take pole this evening. But don't rule out one of the outsiders. Asikome probably lost a 10th. Coming out of Junsao on that final run, that would have stuck him right up there, challenging for the top 4. Axe has had a really good session as well. Will we see any outsiders try and disrupt this? Tom and Jensen, after a pretty shaky start, are back into play as well. Let's see.
Yeah, let's see indeed. For the benefit of everyone that is just tuning into the stream, I'm going to have a quick rundown of the championship standings coming into tonight. The drivers are just beginning to get out on track. Sav is the first man out on track. But speaking of Sav, PSR out on top on 327 points coming into tonight. Talent Factory in second on 322. Outplayed Racing in third on 176. Visceral Racing in fourth on 123. Team Jazoo in fifth on 116, with Nexus Racing in sixth on 73. Juventus Racing in seventh on 66. That's going to be quite a close fight potentially tonight. Team Valor in eighth on 37. WOR, because they're not here, they're on 31 points. They've remained that way into the final race of the season. And then SLR in 10, buoyed by that Elite Risks performance on 25 points coming into tonight. And that is the current standings as they stand right now before we get, of course, into qualifying. And speaking of qualifying, let's ride on board then with Sav on this lap. The sun just beginning to break through the clouds. Might mean a higher temperature. Might mean as well quicker lap times as well. As now Sav comes down in towards turn 1 and begins what is a very important qualifying session for both PSR and Talent Factory.
Indeed, and through the second part of the ZRSs and through turn 3, over to Sol, as it's known as, and down towards the Retro-Apostra, and then turn 4 of Decida de Largo. Purple, of course, because he's the only driver to have completed that first sector so far in comparison to Wilson, who's gone ever so slightly quicker. It's great to see teammates pushing each other all the way, and they need to. There is a championship on the line with 2 rounds to go. 5 points in it. PSR lead Talent Factory. We're using the conventional F1 point system. For those of you that are unaware, it can often get a little bit interfered with many of the variety of point systems out there. But here and now then, 50.6 as of the middle sector in comparison to Wilson, also on a 50.6 that is level pegged at the moment with his teammate, who, as Wilson may be making a slight error coming out of Junsao. Sav up to the line then. Here he comes in his McLaren. Can he get into the 60s? Not quite. Can Wilson beat that? No, it was Junsao that cost him.
It was Junsao that cost him. Max has even been costlier. About a 10th of a second off Wilson in the end. Legend on the run to the line. He just missed him there, but he goes second. Big lap time in from Legend's perspective. It's Sav out on top. It's Legend there in second. It's Wilson there in third. I think Elite Risk is the only other man that is actually out there on a run right now, and he comes to the line with the 108 flat, so he is going to be very happy, I believe, probably with P10, I think, in this qualifying session. Anything else will be a real bonus from an SLR perspective. Sav the Wad on top, Legend there in second, Wilson there in third. And remember, we've got one more round to come, I believe, in Saudi Arabia. I hope I'm right with that. Saudi Arabia next week is the place to be for what will be, at this stage, a very interesting championship finale between PSR and Talent Factory, and currently there's 0.3 of a second covering them. They won't be covered by 0.3 of a second for that long, trust me that, as Tom is just picking up on his run. And in fact, actually, Tom was on a run, but he's invalidated through the first couple of corners, which is disappointing from the Shazoo man's perspective. And given that he was so frustrated on Monday that he actually absolutely flew over the curb here on the left-hand side into turn number 4 and had pedal problems and crashed out of the race when he was in championship contention, Tom will not be wanting the same tonight.
No, he won't. Also another clip I saw on Twitter. Not nice for any driver when you run into those pedal problems. He's not going to commit to the invalid banker here. He's going to charge up his ERS, use a little bit of fuel as well, because you do have a surplus here at Sao Paulo, as I mentioned a little earlier. He'll go again and try and set the banker that way and make sure he's valid. He'll still have enough time to get in towards the end of the session. We've got Axe out there at the moment, 16.7 through the first sector. Lucas soon to follow. The driver who made it into Q3 right at the death also on a 16.7, and Axe is now backed off since switching back, so I'm not quite sure what happened with the American driver. However, must have made a mistake. Possibly going to turn it into a slipstream, yes.
Yeah, I was thinking maybe Slipstream, given the way he was running third gear coming through Ferradura, we'll see. He's actually getting out of the way to the left-hand side. I believe Slipstream was actually banned here in the Legacy Division, if I'm not mistaken, so that would have been very, very foolish, I think, from the VSR perspective. If they were, we would have been on board with that as well, and they would have been getting very much a slap wrist from me as well. Lucas now coming through the left-hand return number 12, on board as he goes for a spin, takes up the liquid moly sign, I should say. Unfortunate for that polystyrene board. What did that polystyrene board do to deserve that? I do not know. But Lucas now is back into the pit lane. In fact, no, he's actually continuing on for another run. I personally, if I was him, I would have actually backed off, come in the pit lane, and then put a fresh set of rubber on, go out and do 2 runs.
Yeah, absolutely. Still 6 minutes on the clock there. We still have plenty of time to fulfill that. And yeah, apologies about the slipstream comment. Not being here for a while tends to throw me off when talking about slipstream. But yeah, Tom again having a moment. Not ideal for him. That's 2 now. An invalidation, and even on a flying lap run, he just can't get it right in Q3.
Yeah, unfortunate for Tom. He had a huge mistake coming out of Junsao there. Unfortunately, must have got caught on the rear end on the outside curb, I think. And then that rear end just snapped away. Easy to do. Jensen, his teammate, is on a run as well, which is really neat, I think, a good qualifying session out of tonight. Of course, they're 4th in the standings. Outplayed Racing's Nando further down the field with a qualifying ban. Of course, right down, I think, in 17th position. I think he qualified out with Zinity starting, I think, behind him. I believe Zinity is now back in the session as well after his early disconnect, as now Jensen is on the run to the line. We'll see what the Shazoo man can do, and he goes 5th. Not a bad run at all from the Shazoo man. It is still a little bit off what we've seen with Sav, with Legend, with Wilson, and speaking of which, them guys are coming through the first sector. Sav is 200s up out of the first sector, Wilson 9,000s up out of the first sector, so pretty much matching each other by 1,000th of a second. Oh no, my word, Sav has just had a huge moment coming out of turn number 9, getting completely Tokyo drifted coming out of turn number 9. How on earth he's kept that car in a straight line, I do not know. If he's quicker in the middle sector, I'd be very, very surprised, and he's not. He's a 10th and a half down in that middle sector. Wilson is coming through that middle sector split soon. We'll see what Sav can do actually on the run to the line, as Zinity has literally just joined as soon as I said about him. And Sav, yeah, he's backed off in this qualifying session. Wilson, however, 800s down. Again, the rubber not really getting down on the circuit, and they're not improving at the midpoint of qualifying here.
Absolutely not, and Sav, I hope for his sake that he's got that extra set of soft tyres available to him. He should do, considering he only got through with 1 as TF Max goes quickest. Not by much though, still in the 1:07s. Can Legend go any quicker? Yes, he can, by about half a tenth over his teammate. Sav might feel very hard done by having had that slight moment through turn 9. PSR Wilson unable to get off at above 4th place at the moment as well. It's TF from PSR then, but we'll still have 1 more run to come.
Yeah, and do you know how I said they weren't going to happen for that they weren't going to stay between 3/10 of a second for much longer? They're now not. They're separated by 800ths of a second coming into tonight's racing, with still 3.5 minutes to go in this qualifying session. It is going to be one wild and wacky night, I'm sure, and it's going to chop and change Very, very much so. Crispy, who is, I believe, a PSR supporter, I believe he's the engineer, actually, for PSR. He's there in the chat saying, wowee, he is going to be impressed by that. Your boys are doing very well, I've got to say, as well. Sav and Wilson. Talent Factory, though, they were off in Q1. They were further down the field in Q1. Q2 and Q3, they've really came alive. This is what we've seen pretty much every single qualifying session in Legacy Division, certainly that I've done. Legend and Max have been phenomenal. And they are looking to try and improve once again. As speaking of improving, Tom is now out on his final run. Frankie there saying crispy 3-4 washed. That's an interesting comment coming from the Shazoo team, who are currently 6th and 9th position. I'd be talking to your guys and getting them to improve in terms of the lap times if I was you. Wiener there in the chat saying we will see a 0.9 for sure. Yeah, I think we'll see a 0.9 for sure. I honestly, but given between the front four, I honestly don't know where it's going to come from, though.
Yeah, just bizarrely, we've not quite seen any evidence that we're going to get into the 1-minute 6s yet. It feels like we're capped at a 1-minute 7 for some strange reason. But Shazoo Tom will be first up then. Didn't get a lap in after 2 attempts earlier on in the session, but he's warming up his Red WOR Pirelli soft compound tyres, and he unleashes himself then. Hot lap soon to be engaged. There it is as the ERS numbers start ticking down. Now it's important to leave it late actually around here at Sao Paulo when engaging your ERS, because you use so much of it coming around the lap. Even though you're only 64% at full throttle, you're still depleting a lot of that battery because it's a short lap time. And that's just how the ERS is synced up on this game. So he's leaving some in reserve for the run up to the line, because if you dip below 10%, then you're going to start scrubbing off some straight line speed.
Yeah, definitely so. My by the way, was a 16-6 in the first sector from Tom. Looking very, very good. As soon as I say that, he invalidates coming out of turn number 7. Look, he's got another cap run potentially in him, which is good from a Shazoo perspective. They really need the look, I think, at this stage in qualifying, especially from Tom's perspective. Asacum as well, just starting up on a lap. I'm not sure, actually, who might be next up on a run. I believe it is actually Asacum. Was it one of the VSR boys? Lucas was on a run, I think, but he's invalid.
Sav, purple in the middle sector, as I've just identified him over a 10th up at the moment, coming out of Junsao, and it was a pretty perfect exit based on the last time we were on board with him coming out of turn 9, but now up to the line. Can PSR take provisional pole? And he is finally into the 1-minute 6s, and he has set the benchmark. PSR Wilson 9 1,000s down in the first sector. The next lap times to come, though, not from Talent Factory. They're starting their laps a little bit later, leaving it right towards the checkered flag. It's Lucas who's invalidated, and then VSRX, who's also on an outlap, will be waiting a moment yet.
Yeah, Wilson, I believe, is the next one to come across the line. Asacum as well is on a lap, and he's in the middle sector, and he's a 50.5 in the middle sector. Huge lap coming in here from the OP man. Where is this coming from all of a sudden? Is this the real Asacum that we are going to see? Let's see. The Italian man now on the run towards the line. This is looking like a huge lap from the OP man. Might be a shock on, and he goes second in the end. Big lap time though still. 300ths of a second off. Tom is purple in the first sector as well. He's coming through the middle sector. Wilson on the run to the line actually goes 4th, so good lap time improvement from him. Max is in the first sector, 16.6. Legend in the middle sector split. Here we go. Middle sector split coming in from Legend. 50.5, but he's only 5,000 up, so he's looking like he's on the back foot. It's South from Asacum from Legend. Wilson there in 4th. Max there in 5th. Max is 2 tenths down, so it looks like he's not going to be improving. The Talent Factory man, Jensen's back off on his run as we see Tom go 2nd. Big lap time there from Tom. Big run from the man who qualified well in PSGL here on Monday. Very good qualifying session from him. I believe that is the end of qualifying because Lucas backed off his lap. Axe is invalid as well. So that is PSR Sav out on top. Tom in 2nd. Asacum there in 3rd. And you know, we were expecting them 0.9s. 3 of them come at once. It's like a bit like London buses.
Unbelievable effort by Shazoo Tom on a second run on those soft tyres to get within 15 thousandths of the pole time. It's what could have been if he hooked up a better banker, perhaps. That is absolutely incredible by Shazoo Tom. But of course, the full plaudits here go to PSR South, who are under a lot of pressure in this two-way championship fight, is stuck in on pole position. And Legend and Max who had a little bit of certainty after Q1 and Q2 that they were maybe going to go for it again in Q3 and take top spots. They haven't. 4th and 6th, hardly anything separating the top 7 there.
Yeah, very, very good qualified session. A 10th and a half covering the top 7, as you mentioned. It is Sav out on top from Tom there in 2nd. Asacom there in 3rd. Legend there in 4th, perhaps one of the favourites for pole. All the way down in 4th in the end. Wilson there in 5th with Max there in 6th. Jensen there in 7th. Good qualifying session from him, given that he was under the cosh for half of that Q3. Elite Risks actually had qualifying both VSR boys in Axe and Lucas. Elite Risks there in 8th, Axe there in 9th, and Lucas there rounding off the top 10. We are going to go for a very short intermission break with our introduction, of course, and we'll be back with you in around about 45 seconds-ish. And with that, welcome back everyone to WOR Legacy Division. We are here tonight for season number 2. It's round number 13 of the championship. We take in, of course, the Brazilian Grand Prix here from the Autodromo Jose Carlos Pache. Of course, my name is James Head. Joseph joining me alongside in the commentary box. He's just gone for a very, very short loo break, which is good time because we've got a little bit of time until we get, of course, into the green flag action here for this 36 lap race here in Brazil. And with 327 points, playing 322, PSR lead the way from Talent Factory in 2nd. Outplayed Racing well behind in 3rd. On 176, their main fight is to try and hang on and cling on to that 3rd position, given Asacom's result there in qualifying. Visceral Racing in 4th on 123. Team Chazoo in 5th on 116. Nexus Racing in 6th on 73. Juventus Racing in 7th on 66. Then Team Valor in 8th on 37. WOR in 9th on 31. Both of their drivers not here because of exam commitments. Hopefully, the best of luck to all of them in what they are doing in terms of the exams, in terms of prior commitments as well. Summer Racing Team in 10th, given Elite Risks qualifying session there, qualifying in P8. He's there in 10th. They're not going to be separating. They're there in 10th, I should say, on 25 points. They are definitely not going to be on 25 points, potentially, come the end of this race. As that slight crackle indicates to me that my co-commentator is back alongside me in the comment box. And I was saying there, Joseph, with 30 seconds ago, PSR, Talent Factory, 5 points separating. What are we looking forward to tonight?
I'm looking forward to absolutely everything about this race. I know that is very vague, but, you know, such is the magnitude of this championship fight. Again, best of luck to all the drivers.
Yeah, best of luck to all the drivers indeed. In a very, very sunny Brazilian Grand Prix, the Autodromo Jose Carlos Pache awaits, and the 5 red lights are about to come on here for Legacy Division. And now the 5 red lights go on in the gantry. It is all 5 on, and we are... Lights and away we go, and Tom gets a very good start. Sav there getting a very good start as well. He might actually get the run on him in towards turn 1. Tom a little bit squirrely on the exit as now Asacom tries to go all the way around the outside of him towards turn 1, but Sav is already away. 5 10s clear coming out of turn number 1. Asacom there in 2nd, Tom there in 3rd. Everyone's clean through turns 3 and 4 safely. No carnage that we saw in PSGL, luckily as well. Legend and Max are going side by side down in towards turn number 4 to see the Delago. And it looks like Legend's come out on top in terms of that one. Still side by side coming through out of turn number 4. He risks dropping down a position. He's now side by side with Chris. They're 2 by 2 in Noah's Ark formation as Chris tries to go all the way around the outside on the back of Elite Risk. Tries to get the move done. turn. Bit of a snap there as well from, I think, Lucas ahead. And now there's 3 wide towards turn right. Do not want to make contact through here at the best of times. Nate, given the worst of times as well. The Haas still trying to look to the inside line there, and Chris LeGriff getting caught up in that as well. Lucas just about gets through. Everyone is clean through that without any front wing damage, which is good. But Sav is without an absolute domination start. 7 tenths, 8 tenths per second in front. Asicum in second, Tom there in third. And in the end, Tom, first phase of the start was good. Second phase of the start was worse. And Wilson's right on the back of him towards turn 1.
Wilson with a very good start up to 4th, having started 5th, and soon make that 3rd as he pulls to the inside. A late lunge on Shizu Tom, who leaves him the space, and Wilson will attempt the switch back through turn 2 and through Curve de Sol turn 3 we go then. He's using all of his battery early doors here just to try and make the move. It'll be a very valuable move indeed, but on the run to turn 4, unless he can pull off a move from there, he has not quite made it through. A really valiant effort as Twitch in the background there from TF Legend further down, Action Flow side by side, and now Nando Jr., who had a qualifying ban, a name we've not mentioned, City retired in Q1, up to P14 already. Jam, the only driver on the medium tyres, has not yet made any inroads in P16. We saw him really struggle as well in qualifying.
Yeah, really struggling in terms of qualifying. Position gains, by the way. Zenity is the one that's gained the most from 18th up to 12th. Big slide there as well from Nando just ahead in the camera shot. There's Savad on top. It's Asa coming second. It's Tom there in third. Jam there on the back of Flo, looking to try and get the job done. And the now flowing circle of the Brazilian Grand Prix is now underway with on to lap 3 out of 36. Great start though from Sav. Now nearly a second clear over Asacum there in second. As I was mentioning, most positions gained. Zenity further down the field gained 6. The Griff has gained 4, so great start from an NOX perspective, given how they're far down in the field as well. I've just seen as well that apparently the game sound is not working, so apologies. That should be it. That's kicking into gear right now. Savad on top, Asicum there in second, Tom there in third. Jam's going side by side with Flo down the inside and towards the seat of the Largo at turn number 4. Williams tries to hang on the inside line. Red Bull on the outside line. Should be Williams' move, and Jam is through, jamming that one, and he's into 15th.
Yeah, good move there by Jam, and he had to make it done to keep his hopes alive in this race. The unorthodox medium-hard strategy in use there for him. Now Sav almost out of that 1 second window. Asikome almost using all of his battery to try and keep in touch with him. 1 second it ticks over there. Has he got DRS? This final corner is oh so important, and he starts to burn the battery now. Exactly 1 second again there. All important moment here. No DRS for OPS Ikome. PSR Sav has extended his advantage to 1.2 seconds. A train will now start to form with Tom, Wilson, Legend, Max, Jensen, and everyone else all waiting in the wings.
Yeah, and Sav is doing this as well. 40% of ERS he's actually managed to conjure up over the first 3 laps. Asicum's only on 2%. Big W there for PSR, certainly. Crispy will certainly be liking that one in the chat. It is Sav out on top from Asicum in second, Tom there in third. Everyone, by the way, starting on that set of hard componentized, bar, as you mentioned, Joseph, of course, in Jam, who's there in 15th, not really making in any inroads. Normally, at the start of the race, the mediums don't really come online until around 5 or 6 laps in. Same with the hard componentized around here as well. And Jam there in 15th will be struggling, I've got to say, to try and match up to the likes of Nando, who is a lot quicker than him on raw pace out on track. As we could see a move further down the field. Zenity was getting quite close there to Chris in the braking zone at turn number 10. The NRX man on the back of the Aventus Racing man in, 11th and 12th, so they're just on the fringe of the points at this stage. Lucas there is ahead of them by about 6/10 of a second. Jamie Johnson there in the chat mentioned as well, we all want to know where is Dan Spreen and all of this. Dan Spreen, unfortunately, not making that. I believe he's got examinations this week, which is why WOR not fielding any drivers. And therefore, it's totally understandable, I've got to say, as well, that they're not fielding any drivers. Exams come before anything. Exams are certainly more important than a social race here in Legacy Division on a Friday night, and they will definitely secure your future, as Nando is trying to secure P13 on the back of Action towards turn number 4.
Yeah, I was there last year. I'll be there again next year. So, of course, good luck to anybody taking time out of their studies to watch us here this evening, or indeed race here this evening. We know just how stressful it can be. Keep looking after yourself, though. All those important techniques that I'm sure you've been taught about a million times. Anyway, Nando Jr. up to P14, and Axe, who I think was involved in sort of the lap 1 melee, as he so often is, down 4 positions as it stands. They were almost pushing each other through turn number 11, as we are now and up to turn number 12, 3 abreast in a sector where you really shouldn't be able to go 3 abreast.
Oh, here comes Wilson. Sorry to cut you off, Joseph. Here's Wilson to the inside line and Tom in towards turn number 1. I can see that one coming from an absolute mile off because he had so much speed down the straight. PSR now 1 and 3. Wilson through and he's into 3rd. Sorry to cut you off there.
No problem. I thought it was just completely going to be a stagnant train, so that's on me for being completely ignorant to that overtake.
Fantastic overtake as well, I've got to add, in towards turn number 1. Easy on the brakes. Tom has now got 8% of ERS. Wilson's got 21%. So again, PSO in terms of their strategy and in terms of their ERS management, phenomenal so far. Legend, however, and Max are actually double the amount compared to the PSR boys, and they are further down the field, which is good from a PSR perspective, but also bad a little bit longer term in terms of their actual strategies. Legend there in 5th, Max there in 6th. They'll be splitting off, I would say, around about lap 15, lap 16 to come on to a set of medium compound tyres, maybe even a little bit later than that. Is Justin in the chat saying PSR is clear, Acorn saying VSR are cooking, and Frankie saying Sav don't kill Tom. Well, he hasn't at the minute. Tom has certainly not killed Wilson either. Legend, however, is going to kill Tom's chances for P4 because here comes Legend on the back of Tom, uses up that ERS management to good effect. Tom's fighting back in towards turn number 1, however, might try and move this around the outside. Tom, in the end, just about gets 3/4 of the car length ahead, and in the end, Legend cannot find a way through. Maybe down in towards turn number 4 to see the logo, gets on the power, coming out of turn number 3 at the centre S, now down in towards turn number 4, but he's not on the power too early, and Legend there cannot catch the back of Tom. Interesting battle, and splits beginning to happen further down the field, the Elite Wrist and the Griff now becoming the real split off in terms of this battle, and everything beginning to flow in behind. Speaking of flow, I thought he was on the back of Jam looking for the move, but he wasn't.
Yeah, PSR might be handing Tom a note under the desk here. If he keeps defending the way he is, TF Legend will have no route at the moment up towards the back of PSR Wilson. If it stays like this, it'd be a point swing that's quite large. That's too large for me to work out of this moment in time. Enough to have one hand on the championship, you could argue, going into the final round at Saudi Arabia. So a very big development. Can Legend get past Tom now? The gap growing to 6/10 at the moment. Tom with just enough ERS to play with. Legend doesn't want to get too desperate now. The gap has started to open up. Max further behind as well on about 50%. And here comes JR Chris to the inside of VSR Lucas. Finally caught an overtake, and it's a good one. A convincing one as he's up into the points paying positions.
Yeah, I've got to argue, though, that was very easy from Lucas's perspective. He just about allowed him through in towards turn number 1. Chris, now the quicker man, he's got much more ERS compared to him, so that's actually a smart move rather than Chris going ahead. That's actually a smart move from Lucas because he can now save up a bit of that ERS. He's got Zinity on the back of him as well, beginning to look maybe in towards turn number 6 on the back of him. The NRX man and the VSO man have had a little bit of hard blood this season as well. I know they got involved in an incident. I thought there was a car off on the right-hand side, but then again, it was just Jensen coming through my camera screen and thinking, a little bit of a lag spike there as well, just fixing itself. Lucas and Zinity remain in the same positions there as well. Jamie Johnson saying in the chat, I love Shazoo Tom, someone get this guy a Domino's. And yeah, Joseph saying in the chat, other pizzas are indeed available. And speaking of pizzas, hopefully you are having us in the background in terms of your exams. Hopefully you're getting something to eat there as well. Couldn't think of anything worse than to have a Northerner and Joseph alongside me in the commentary box commentating on a Legacy Division race while you're trying to do exam work and while we're trying to shout at fake cars moving on the track. And speaking of fake cars, here comes Flo on the back of Jam in towards turn number 1, and in the end gets the job done. Fake, by the way, in terms of the context of, this is the same game.
Well, Sim is also arguable, but meanwhile, NRX and Griff to the inside then at turn number 4. Again, a nice move there. There was 2 drives that started to
Oh, Stokey! Sorry to cut you off. Just run on the back there on Stokey into the back of Jam. Right side end plate damage for the car. Very, very silly, I think, from the TV8 man there in 17. Just completely messed up his braking point. Hit the rear wheel there of Jam, and unfortunately, Stokey's got front wing damage.
Yeah, maybe you should go back to cockpit cam, because I think the switch he's made to the TV pod it's not been a good start. Sometimes a driver just has that speciality, and for Stokey it was, of course, using cockpit cam, but if he has changed permanently, do correct me if I'm wrong in the live chat. But that's not what you want to see from him. Of course, we're approaching the end of the game, so there'll be many other factors that have influenced that rather than just the camera he's using. But yeah, Stokey, a race to forget so far.
Zenity and Axe are through on Lucas. I thought Axe was going to look onto the back of Zenity as well. He had the speed to, but in the end he didn't have the ERS to try and pull off that move. He is being very smart, I've got to say. In terms of his ERS usage, the VSR playing a better games here with the NRX boys. And speaking of the VSR man, here comes Axe on the outside line in towards turn number 4 on Zenity. And that is how you pull off a move. Around the outside to see the logo. No quarters given coming through there. Beautiful move by Axe. Use up a bit of that ERS. Beautiful move, absolutely class. He's doing his into 11th. Best move of the night so far by an absolute country mile.
Yeah, nicely done there by VSRX, just getting his head down, continuing his often faced jeopardy in the early stages of a race, but he is starting to come back into this one. Again, we're on lap 10 of 36, the pit stop phase, probably about another 8 laps away in a 50-50 split, but the mediums can do yourself a very nice job indeed. Stokey will demonstrate he's changed his front wing, he's back out there in his Red Bull.
He is indeed. Legend on the back of Tom and towards 10 and 1. He's just trying to eke out every inch of that ERS on the back of him. I think there's been a swap further down as well, with Nando getting through on Lucas, a 13th and 14th swapping positions even before turn number 1. Legend again on the back of Tom. Tom looks slow, I've got to say, in the straight line, even though he's got that front wing, that rear wing open, and he's got ERS to try and burn. He looks really, really slow in a straight line compared to Legend. Legend, I think it might be just running, maybe running just slightly lower wings compared to Tom. Tom is doing a good job, don't get me wrong, through the corners he's doing brilliant, but in the end, Legend in 5th. If he just saves up a little bit more ERS than Tom, that move is going to happen absolutely brilliantly, I think, from the Talent Factory perspective. Max there just dropping off the back. He's allowing these two to try and fight. He's got Wilson and Asacom within the DRS train as well. Max has been smart because these two battle, he can try and take them both.
Yeah, he can do. Of course, he doesn't want to go in too hot on his teammate. The unofficial rule 1, don't hit your teammate, and they cannot afford to. That could well gift PSR the championship there and then if they do manage to come together. However, they're a long way apart at the moment. It's a slow burner, nobody really getting anything done. They've pulled away from the gap from the cars behind in 8th onwards. They'll be starting to look for a gap that they can pit into without getting held up in the next few laps as well, so we'll keep a close eye on as the pit race develops.
Axe has just had a huge moment coming out of turn number 1 on board with Zenity. I thought he was going to look for the move anyways, but Zenity now, easy, as you like, to the inside line in towards turn number 4. Axe Tokyo drifts coming out of the center S, and Nando's right on the back of these guys, trying to hunt him down on terms for P11, 12 and 13. But in the end, Axe, one mistake too many, and he's cost it, and Zenity now ahead of him in 11th.
Yeah, that's just setting back a moment there as well. Zenity and Chris separated by 7/10 too much in terms of the DRS train. So time running out, really. They'll need a safety car or something to really consider themselves still in contention for points back there. We'll soon see, though, as again another lap passes, another lap with PSR Sav just over a second in front of OPS Ikome, who's got absolutely no ERS yet, so he's still unable to get back into the DRS range as well. It's such a make or break part of the lap there, as Axe has been overtaken again, this time by OP Nando Jr.
Yeah, Nando getting the Nandos, I think, on Axe in towards turn 1. That is a very, very bad pun. Don't get me wrong. Nando there on the back of Zenity is going to try and look for the move actually in towards turn number 4, but he's not close enough. Or is he? He might go for the moving toward the inside line at turn number 4, but in the end he can't. And to be fair, 99% of drivers would have went up the inside line there, and there would have been contact there. Nando, being that rare 1%, doesn't go for the move. Stokey bangs in the new fastest lap of the race, just the boot as well, further down the field. But Nando there in 12 on the back of Zenity, trying to look to try and somehow get the move done in on the back of Zenity for this P11 and 12. Back to Asacom as well. Asacom was barely brinking on a second, and again in this DRS range, he's just barely outside of a second. He's got the pace. He just needs to be lucky in terms of what he gets in terms of the DRS, because Sav pulls away down the straight, in towards turn number 1, and that from turn, what is it, Jun South, turn 12, all the way down the hill in towards turn number 1. That is so costly for Asacom because he's got no battery, and it's basically set up on the lap beforehand in terms of that move. And speaking of moves, Nando just pulled off on Zinity. Nice moving towards turn number 1 on the back of him, and he's now ahead of him, and Spoony's into 11th, and Nando really, really cooking, maybe adding oil onto the fire.
Yeah, Nando and Zinity, the joint biggest gainers so far in this race, both up 6 now as well. Nando has prevented Zinity from having the 7-5 advantage on that one. They're level now at 6 positions gained apiece. You cannot fault Kome's effort here. A star, in fact, for just pushing and pushing and pushing. He's kept Wilson at bay, who, granted, is not using much ERS at all because he doesn't really have to at this stage. Can he get into the DRS this time, though? No, again, just much. I counted 1.017 there, in fact. It is looking like that every single lap. And talk about this for an early pit stop. PSR Wilson into the pit lane for a set of medium tyres at the end of lap 14.
I honestly am not surprised. I said this a little bit earlier on, saying they could come in from about lap 14, 15. Just call me Mr. James once again. Wilson's out of the pit lane. Lucas has picked up a 3-second penalty as well for corner cut, I believe, out of turn number 3. And he's also made a mistake coming out of turn number 3 as well. He's just lost the position to Flo, which is unfortunate there from his perspective. Wilson, though, out of the pit lane. He's in clear air for now. These guys extend their stints by a couple of laps. Wilson potentially could be in trouble a little bit later on. I would assume everyone is just going to start filtering in. Jamie Johnson in the chat saying, Crispy has thrown CBA. Very, very harsh comment there from Jamie Johnson. We'll see who is right, Jamie or Crispy. We'll see what he is doing in terms of the strategy. Sav, though, I'm assuming because he's burned up the battery, he is going to respond, maybe to come in this lap. I would not be surprised if he actually doesn't, but he is in. So Sav is into the pit lane, Asacom is in, Tom stays out. So Tom stays out, Legend stays out, and I think Max is also staying out as well. There is a yellow flag, and that is Yona for a spin out of turn number 11. But the top 2 are in, Sav and Asacom. Where is Wilson in all of this? He has gained 0.6 of a second off the back of Sav and the likes. Are the PSR boys going to be side by side coming out of the pit lane? I probably think not.
Evan rightly pointing out in the chat as well, we are still expecting the clouds to form and the possibility of a little bit of rain towards the end of the race. So why not go in early? Why not try and, you know, just gain while you can? And then if everybody does have to pit onto the intermediate tyres, you've won either way. As Wilson has actually jumped OPS Ikome and made it provisionally a PSR 1-2.
Yeah, which is phenomenal from Wilson's perspective. That undercut really coming into his perspective. They're just about to hit on traffic, though. Jam, Lucas and Flo, who arguably are going to stay up there a little bit further. And if it is going to rain towards the end of the race, which is what Choco's mentioning, and what we have clearly forgotten about in the chat here as well, it could be raining at the end of the race, but it could be the rain at the end where the clouds begin to build over lap 30. The rain falls lap 31, doesn't really impact on the track surface, and then you get a dry end to the race, and that's what the guys in the set of hard, certainly from the top 5, are looking, because they are getting told something different compared to what the PSL boys are doing, as Elite Risk and Chris are both into the pit lane as well. The top 5 staying out indicate to me the rain is either not going to come, or it's going to come at a point that is so late in the race if we are not really going to see much in terms of wet weather and much in terms of the intermediate compounder tyres, especially at the end of the race. I'm like to be proven wrong, and I hope I am. I just don't see it, though, at this stage with them staying out.
Yeah, this could go one of many ways then. I think that's what we've established as Legend still facing the rear wing of Shazoo Tom. Will any of the top 3 respond on this particular lap? It's Shazoo, TF, Shazoo as the running order at the moment. Legend on a personal best lap at the moment, so the hard tyres only getting better at this stage. But is it enough to respond to the pace set at the moment on the medium tyres? I don't think so, but the top 2 have stayed out, as does TF Max and Shazoo Jensen. No responses yet from the PlayStation drivers and the PlayStation teams.
And the Griff is into the pit lane, 5-second penalty, and Sav is passing traffic, and Wilson's also passing traffic as well. And I wonder if PSR are going to try and pull off a bit of a box effect here in towards turn of 1, as Jam lets them both through, which is fortunate for them. Legend, by the way, in all of that, has actually got the race lead off Tom in towards turn number 4, which we missed. I just caught that on the mini-map there on the bottom right. Legend now through on Tom into turn number 4 into Cedar de Largo. Much more EOS that Legend had compared to Tom. Was about 35% to 10%, I think. So Legend now through, and he's into the race lead. Tom there in second, Max there in third. Now Talon Factory can play their game. Now they can try and hope that Asacum and Wilson and Sav get caught up in a bit of traffic because they got Flo and Lucas to deal with at the worst possible point of the track, coming through the middle sector, coming through turns 8, 9 and 10. That is the worst possible opportunity for them to try and overtake. These guys, as a result, are just beginning to edge away. They're just beginning to pull away in front as Sav has actually got the move done on Lucas and maybe just bullied him there coming through the corner in that middle sector. So Sav now through and he's into 7th. Max, however, splits the strategy for Talon Factory. He is into the pit lane. And I think this is ideal for these guys to come in right now. However, they are going to be further down the field than what they might have originally been. So Max is there. There are the McLarens coming past him. Max is at least going to be about 3 or 4 seconds behind on these guys coming out the pit lane. Talon Factory have either missed an opportunity here, or if the rain doesn't come and we get a little bit of a safety car in this race, I think they pulled off an absolute worldly strategy, I think.
And raw pace is a 3-lap tyre advantage. Going to be good enough, though, to bring them back into contention. Legend still leading the way. You'd assume he responds on this lap. Tom and Jensen still yet to pit. Only one of them can take that opportunity. On this particular lap, so one of the Shizou drivers perhaps planning to go even longer into this race at the moment. PSR 1-2 their net at the moment. Asikome, after trying and testing PSR South for his DRS, has lost that net P2 at the moment. OP third in the team's championship. A very lonely position at the moment as PSR unable to really contend with them so far in this race, as Tom and Legend have come into the pit lane.
Yeah, they've come into the pit lane, and again, look at where Max is compared to Asacom. He's actually spawned out the pit lane, spawned so much that he's actually apparently 0.5 of a second behind them, even though he's probably more than 3 seconds behind them out on track. And we'll see actually the gap, what it is now, coming past us in terms of the graphics. Hopefully them fix themselves. He's 2 seconds behind Tom coming out the pit lane. And there is Tom, in fact. And look at where they're coming out. Tom and Legend here and Max are going to be pretty much side by side with each other. I think Tom nearly hit the wall coming on the exit of the pit lane there as well. But Max is now ahead of Tom. Beautifully done by the Talon Factory boys, even though they're 4.5 seconds behind on the front runners at the minute. Asacum, Wilson and Sav look like they're going to be fighting out the race win. If Talon Factory played this right, though, and there is going to be rain a little bit later on in the race, they have played an absolute country blinder, I think, here. Sav, Wilson and Asacum, they're going to be wearing in terms of their tyres. Whatever is going to happen in these next 16 laps or so, it is going to be fascinating to watch.
Yeah, and they can afford to just stop leaning on them for a little bit. They can afford to just drop a little bit of time to Talent Factory behind as well. If Asakome starts to push, they can respond because they can form a literal roadblock at PSR with their cars in front of the AlphaTauri. Jensen has come into the pits after a lengthy 20-lap stint on the hard tyres. Compare that to Wilson, who pit at the end of lap 14. He trails his team at PSR South. Jensen will rejoin this race just in front of Elite Risks, who's still going really well in P8. Lagriff behind with a penalty. He's got an even bigger buffer as it stands.
Yeah, and as it stands actually out on track, while I'm doing the quick maths here on my side, as it stands with PSR being 1-2, 43 points is what they're going to be gaining. Talon Factory at the minute are 4th and 5th, which means they're going to be gaining 22 points. Gap is going to be 5 points, 27. There was a yellow flag, and that's Lucas, I think, round coming out of turn number 3. Quick maths from my perspective says it's a 21-point advantage gain. So that means it's a 26-point advantage, I believe, going into the final race of the season. As it stands, currently out on track. I might be wrong in terms of the maths by 1 point or so. If not, I've done a pretty good job there. And if I have, then I'm sorry, I didn't pass GCSE maths.
Yeah, I don't want to rub it in, but my grade 7 is one I'm immensely proud of, which in the old Queen's English, I don't know what that is, you'll have to convert it. It's down the inside of Elite Risks at Town 1 in his Aston Martin, and that is a very nice move indeed, but as we've said before, Elite Risks can afford to just yield that one based on the penalty that the Frenchman has to his name.
Yeah, definitely so. Acorn as well saying in the chat, saying, you don't know, do you? I'm not sure if he's referring to us, as Yona was retired there in the pit lane. Unfortunately, he was on the back foot, I think, after a spin a little bit earlier on, and Yona there down the field, retiring from the race. Juventus Racing not going to be picking up any points. Not that he was going to anyways, he was further down the field. Disappointing from Yona's perspective. Acorn, though, saying, not, as I say, not sure if it's referring to us in terms of the comments we've made. You don't know, do you? I'm pessimistic about this weather. The further we go, it indicates to me the further that we stay dry. If the cloud cover begins to build about that 28, 29, it could be enough to bring a little bit of rain towards the end of the race. But it's only going to be 2 or 3 laps, I think, at the end. And if not, and if it's going to stay as it is right to the end, and this sun is going to still beat down on the circuit, and the rain is not forecast for another 15 minutes, we're going to get to the end of the race before the rain actually comes.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it was Axe that put it in the paddock track or paddock chat, or the driver's chat, as the Haas there getting out of the way of Yona. That almost caused a few issues for our race leader, but yeah, he's out of the way. I do trust.
Oh, Chris! Oh my goodness me, down the inside of turn number 4, and that might be a give back position, I think, from Chris. Forcing Elite Risks off track, very late on the brakes. Sorry to cut you off again, Joseph. That caught me completely off guard. Chris now doing his in tonight on Elite Risk. If I was him, though, I'd actually give that back that position and do it fairly out on track.
Yeah, it's me scanning the timing tower, and everything just seems to happen. So be it, though. We like the entertainment. We like catching it late, but we have no idea what's going on. Elite Risks is going to have to try and regain that position, because it doesn't look like Chris is going to position back to him. Here's Tom on TF Max around the outside. There's not much room out there. With the grass ever so slightly. Fastest lap in the process. Max holds on the inside. Perfect cut positioning to give Tom just enough room, but they'll have another go. Max flashing on the rear, then lower than 10% ERS, and this contact front left tyre to side pod around the outside. Tom has to go again, but once more it's brilliant defending by the Austrian, but they'll have to do it for a 3rd time up towards Ferradura.
Yeah, definitely. So remember, these two were only separated by 12 points in PSGL in Tier 1, in F1 on Monday. This is what we got robbed of then in PSGL, and this is what we're seeing now, and this is what we're going to bring you between Max and Tom. Legend, of course, is ahead. He's beginning to pull away as well, and look at the gap coming down as well. 2.3 seconds, the gap between Legend and Asacom. That gap is coming down quickly. There is a big black cloud over the right-hand side of the circuit there, just off camera shot, that is just overhanging where the Amazon rainforest meets basically the boundary of the tracks, and this atmosphere might just cause the rain to begin to fall. Whether or not it does, though, begins to... we will wait and see, of course, here out on track. But Tom, on the back of Max, in towards turn number 1 once again. To the right-hander of turn number 2 at the center S. Then in toward the left-hander of turn number 3. This time he's not going to go for the move. He's just going to wait on the back of Max. But given how Max was getting aggressive with him, they wanted to try and make up for Monday. And that 5-car pile-up in the wet weather around here, than absolutely anything. And I really hope that these guys can put differences aside, give us a good battle, and give us what we all want, a battle between a future superstar and, of course, an F1 esports driver who is currently there right now.
As the Xbox representative here, I don't know about the differences that these guys have as much as you do, but that does make me just that little bit more excited about how this might play out. Shizou Tom, you might argue, he had the opportunity, he didn't take it. It's going to be more difficult lap after lap to make the move, as Max is sticking with his teammate Legend, who is rapidly closing up to the back of Asikome and the leading 3. 2 seconds now is the gap. A couple more laps, he'll be within the DRS and starting to take the fight to the AlphaTauri and indeed the championship leaders in PSR.
Yeah, definitely. So it's going to be a wild and wacky one. If the rain is going to come, if it's not, I don't know. Lap 26 out of 36, 11 laps to go, including the one we're on at the minute. Zinity on the back of Axon towards turn 1, not looking quite close enough. Tom again on the back of Max, not looking quite close enough in towards turn number 4, and to see Delago as well. As I say, the more that the sun begins to stay out on track, the less likely it is it's going to rain. And if that is the case, and I'm utterly convinced that is the case, and we're going to get less than 45 minutes worth of running, 45 minutes I think is where the rain slot had actually come out in. 45 minutes is basically the end of the race, the final 2 laps of the race, given safety cars. We haven't had a VSC, we haven't had a safety car so far tonight, and God forbid I don't want one now, given the battle that we're going to see out in front. But if we do, then it's going to bring everyone together, and then that threat of rain potentially increases as well. As Tom, again, on the back of Max, in towards turn number 1. Has to come on the back of Wilson as well, just trying to gap Wilson slightly outside of a second. There's nothing really much happening out on track at this stage, with only 10 laps to go now. Sav Wilson has to come currently the top 3, and it's normally this stage in the race, if there is rain forecast before the end, normally the clouds begin to build from around lap 28 to 29. The clouds build on those laps, rain will increase. If not, we're not going to get any.
Yeah, we've been going for just over half an hour now, and if the icon does show 45 minutes, realistically, it can be anywhere between 30 and 45 minutes that the rain starts. It could be 44 minutes, and we might not see it at all. Who knows? For a more accurate picture, you need the icons, and then for an even more accurate picture, you need a radar. We have access to none of those things, and it's a complete mystery, a complete enigma to how this race is going to pan out. We've got 9 laps to go when we cross the line, a move by Axe on Nando Jr., which we caught there in towards turn number 6, as they've disputed that not for the first time in this evening's race. Who is going to have the favourable strategy then? When will this rain come?
Yeah, and if it comes, that is the big question, I think, with this. Nando, by the way, was forced off track slightly by Axe, coming through turn number 4, backed off, got up the hill and towards turn number 6, got ahead of him. So Axe completing that move cleanly up into turn number 4 on the into turn number 6 even on the back of Nando. Nando could be out for a little bit of retribution. So beginning to build over the circuit. That's 28 out of 36. Sav Wilson has to come currently in the top 3, and this is where we could see the rain begin to form. Luke saying in the chat, if it doesn't rain, their tyres will be completely dead. I totally agree with that, especially from a front 3 perspective. Legend and Max and Tom and Jensen, especially the former 3, Legend, Max and Tom, they have played this brilliantly, and I said this earlier on with Talent Factory. If the rain doesn't come, they have pulled an absolute country blinder. That is exactly what they are doing. They are pulling this country blinder out on track. They're 1.2 seconds away from Asicum, just about to latch on to the back of the DRS train, probably in about 2 laps' time. Asicum now looking on the back of Wilson down the straight, but he's not close enough in towards turn number 1. Whatever happens over the next 7 or 8 laps, just know that you have been a part, potentially, of Legacy Division history here. We're all for it. We want to bring you the best action out on track. Hopefully we can over the next 8 laps or so. Sav Wilson and Asicum currently leading the way, but the way that Legend and Max and Tom are going, they're going to be on the back of this sooner rather than later.
Asicum at one point who had 0% for lap after lap after lap has now saved up to 80%. Maybe just giving evidence that they've started to manage their tyres out in front, started to just charge the batteries. Wilson on 75%. PSR Sav looking pretty vulnerable on 10% as well. So goodness knows what will happen if Legend gets the opportunity to try and take them on, as they're starting to charge their batteries as well. In the Ferraris behind, Shazoo Tom at the rear of this train. Legend 1.2 seconds, needs 2 more attempts to get into the DRS range of those in front. Ideally, you want to make the move before DRS possibly gets disabled. It will become a whole lot harder, but it will all come down to setup as well. Even if the slightest sprinkle of rain falls on the circuit, anything that is nicer on your tyres, anything that gives you slightly more downforce in the lower speeds will give you that competitive advantage going into the final few laps. But again, talking about rain, it's still nowhere near the circuit.
Yeah, and Frankie's just put that into perspective. Rain apparently in 15 minutes, which 15 minutes will be out of the circuit boundaries by now, because there is no chance of this rain happening And as I say, I've commentated on this hundreds and hundreds of times, and I've seen how the weather progresses in this game. And this is a perfect example of why you should not trust that weather forecast from a driver's perspective. If the rain was forecast, you believe in your instinct, you believe in your gut. This is what they've gone with in terms of the strategy. In terms of the guts of Legend, Max, and Tom, they've had more guts than everyone else ahead because they have pulled this off absolutely perfectly out on track. Keki there saying in the chat as well, why did PSR risk it? PSR risked it because they wanted that 1-2, because they feel that they're doing enough in the championship. Let me tell you, as it stands right now, as Asacom is actually on the back of Wilson, so I'm going to come on board with this battle in towards turn number 1. Thought Asacom was going to look onto the back of Wilson, could still, but he doesn't dive the inside. As it stands, 43 points trumping 22, so that is the gap between Legend and Max. So that is actually, hang on, that is 25 points, I believe. So 25 points is the gap. They need a maximum of 43. It's going down to the final race, however you like it or not.
Absolutely, and I think it's the best outcome for all involved when it comes to the drama next week. Make sure you do tune in. Make sure you're subscribed with notifications enabled so you don't miss the Championship Decider concluding WOR's duties on F1 22, as we're just a few weeks away from the new, very exciting F1 23. We'll have new tracks, the new features as well to get stuck into. Dare we even mention the red flag feature, which might be utilised more times in tier number 15 or however big WOR is growing nowadays. However, can Asicoma go for it again? He tried on the previous lap. He's using just a little bit more battery this time around. Wilson firmly responding though. Will they change from the leader at PSR? No, they won't. Sav just backing up his teammate. Not deliberately, of course. He's not got much ERS to play with. He's slower down the straights. Wilson braking slightly earlier. And that's the concertina effect bringing the Talent Factory boys closer.
Yeah, and the vulnerability I think with Asacom is, he's got more ERS than Wilson, than Sav. He hasn't though than Wilson. Wilson's got about 24-25% more than what Asacom has got. And now, bring the Talent Factory boys into play, because here's Legend, Max and Tom arriving on the scene. They're beginning to back each other up. The vulnerability with Asacom is that PSR have got a 1-2 ahead. They can easily box Asacom in and let the Talent Factory guys through to have the fight for 1, 2, 3, 4. Now that is a fight that I want to see. Not saying that Asacom does not deserve P3 at all in this race. He's done a fantastic job in this race. He's done brilliantly well. But now he needs to show no weakness. He needs to show why he, arguably, is probably one of the best on the PS platform. And is he going to look to try and get this move done on the back of Wilson and towards turn 1? Not quite, but he weaves out of the slipstream just to try and get a little bit of coolness into the tyres. Lap 33 out of 36. Now the cloud begins to build over the circuit. It could be final lap rain potentially, but Sav out on top, Wilson there in second, Asacom in third. However this goes, and I can't even speak. However you are supporting in terms of the chat, whether it's PSR, whether it's OP, whether it's Talent Factory, or for the love of God, whether it's Shazoo, Tom in 6th position, who's right on the back of this train. Regardless, it has been a fantastic race, a strategic know-how. These guys are the best in the business, and currently, it is PSR out on top, 1-2. Whether or not that changes, though, remains to be seen.
The fair assumption is that dries to the end. The fair assumption is DRS to the end. So overtaking entirely possible. 17 laps, 18 laps, 17 laps, 13 laps on the medium tyres for the top 4. There is such a huge disparity when comparing Legend to that top 3 that he might just have a chance to get it from punctures alone. It's entirely possible. And here comes Asicome again. He's getting closer lap by lap by lap, but he still can't force his AlphaTauri and make a move. It is a huge risk. It is the championship deciding risk, possibly, if he does go on to make that move into turn 1. But he remains cool, remains in third. It will still be a fantastic result anyway.
Yeah, regardless of what's going to happen, it's going to be brilliant. And do you know what? I'm not even ruling out a Max Tom battle on the final 2 laps of the race either. 5th and 6th, they're just sitting pretty. Legends get onto the back of these guys. He wants to go forward. Asicum at the minute wants to go forward as well. He can't because he's got lack of ERS, and Wilson has got more ERS, double the amount, in fact, now than him. Jamie Johnson saying in the chat, saying Asicum has the potential to be legend in PSR history. He has. He could write himself in the history books as actually bringing PSR the title here tonight. It looks unlikely, given where Tom is, and given how Jensen's 5 seconds off the pace, regardless of position, unless they DNF, it is not going to really change. And here comes Legend, speaking of which, on the back of Asicum, and Asicum is very vulnerable here to the back of the Talent Factory man. And here comes the Ferrari, the Scarlet Red Ferrari in towards turn number 1, on the back of Asicum. Asicum might just let this one go, but Legend squeeze them up on the curb beautifully around the outside. Legend now through and he's into 3rd. The fresher mediums are coming into play. 2 laps to go. Sav Wilson currently hanging on for PSR 1-2, but Legend, that is 1 position gain. More points for Talent Factory, more points going into the final race of the season as well. Oh, less points, I should say, for the final race of the season. Legend now in 3rd. Here's Max on the back of Asicum as well, and towards turn number 6, going to try and risk it to the inside line, in towards Ferradura, can't quite, and Asicum hangs on for 4th, Max there in 5th, and now, what did I say 45 seconds ago? Tom's on the back of Max, and we could get this battle again.
Exactly. I mean, Wilson, with ERS to defend with, he can sacrifice himself here, start to back up through turn number 1 and turn number 4, just to make sure Sav gets over the line in front and take the race victory. That'll be a whole lot more valuable than settling for maybe a 2-3 or the endless number of possibilities that can occur here on the final lap. Wilson burning his ERS, as is Legend, who dips below 10% beforehand. He's in the slipstream now, trying to give it absolutely everything to split that PSR.
Oh my god! Max is down the inside of Asicum. Sorry to cut you off. Max has just sent one on the back of Asicum. What a move that is on the brakes. In towards turn number 4. In towards turn number 1 even for 4th. How do you like them apples, says Max and Asicum. And look at Tom. Tom now splitting the pair of them round the outside and towards turn number 4. This will be an insane move. We can pull this off. Now up the hill and towards turn number 6 of Ferradura. And they're now knocking each other, pretty much knocking 10 bells out of each other at this stage. Tom and Max, gotta be careful, they don't want to make contact. He's down the inside and towards turn right once again. Goodness me, what a race this is. Sav and Wilson lead the way from Legend there in 3rd. Legacy division now forging legacies out on track. PSR look like they've got that 1-2 unless there's punctures towards the end. Max and Tom still fighting for 4th. Asicum is now out of this, it seems, but coming through the final couple of corners, PSR pulled an absolute blinder at the end of the day, all thanks to that flank man there in Crispy. Fantastic racing all the way to the checkered flag. PSR 1-2, Talent Factory 3-4, nobody can split them. Sav wins from Wilson in 2nd, Legend in 3rd, Max in 4th, and Tom, frustrated, crashes into the wall, a 10th and a half off the back of Max, and if that straight was longer, he might have well just got him. What a race. Apologies to any cats or dogs or any other animals out there for my big voice cracks in that ending, but Sav takes the win, Wilson in 2nd, and it is PSR 1-2, Talent Factory 3-4, and I believe it's a 43 point to 27 points in terms of the racing. If there's no penalties between them both, it means it's a 16-point gain for PSR, 21-point advantage, which is very, very nice to have going into the final race of the season.
Yeah, Luke has already crunched the numbers. I'm just seeing it on my left-hand side on my laptop as the numbers get plugged into the spreadsheet. PSR 370 points, then Talent Factory 349. It's a 21-point advantage going into the final round as the rain starts to form, by the way.
Wow.
Literally after a safety car would have done it to see rain at the end of the race, but we like a race that plays out naturally. It was a sensational race that played out naturally, and at the end it's conquered by Paradox Sim Racing. It's their 7th win in 9 races. It's an incredible record they've gone on to have this season, even when you thought after the first 3 rounds it was Talent Factories to lose.
Yeah, and PSR in the end, skipping his way to the top step of the podium. In the end is Sav. He did a fantastic job there, out on track. PSR should be very proud tactically of that race as well. Probably one of their best tactical performances, I think, all season. Big thank you to that man there, Crispy. I think they are going to be rewarding him potentially with a cold one tonight. Maybe a few beers on the house from the PSR household as well. But in the end, drink responsibly, by the way, first and foremost. But PSR take the 1-2 finish out on track. As we mentioned, as Lucas just mentioned in the chat there as well, it's a 21-point gap going into the final race of the season, and he couldn't really write the script. In the end, PSR 1-2, TF 3-4, Tom having that battle with Max in the end, an all-round cracker in Brazil. Sav takes the race win from Wilson there in second, Legend there in third with Max in fourth, Tom there ran off the top five, but that's a come in sixth. Jensen there in seventh, in a bit of no man's land at the end of the race there with Chris and eighth. Nando did well from 17th, by the way, up to 9th. Same with Zenity getting into the points. NRX getting at least 1 point out of that for their tally. Le Griffin 11th, Elite Risks in 12th, then Axe, Flo and Stokey top 15. Lucas there in 16th. Jam also finishing lap down, I believe, further down. And Yona was the only retirement out on track, and that was into the pit lane after around 20 odd laps or so. Oh my word, what a race we have had tonight in Legacy Division. I really hope you enjoyed that one, and I really hope the commentary came across in that as well, because we were on the edge of our seats, and I hope, whatever happens next week, it ends on fair terms. That fight between PSR and Talent Factory is going to be one to behold. And Joseph, coming into the final race of the season in Saudi Arabia, all to play for still, 21 points separating provisionally. It is going to be absolutely fantastic to watch. And you're not going to be there.
I will be a very eager spectator, I'll say. Got a few miscommunications tonight with Jota. I hope he's home safely and he's able to catch up on what we've seen tonight, because he's going to need it. He's going to need the context going into next week, and it just sets us up nicely, doesn't it? PSR one hand on the title, but it's still a deficit that can be overturned. 21 points is the magic number. I look forward to watching it.
Yeah, I really do look forward to watching it as well. It is going to be very interesting indeed. I'm going to have a look and see if any of the top three certainly want to have interviews. It's something that we don't really do, actually, because of the nature of the streams. I've got a little bit of time actually free still, so I have asked if the top three want to do interviews for tonight. If they don't, absolutely fair play. If they do, fantastic. We can get them, of course, into the commentary box alongside us here to see what their thoughts were about the race there in Brazil. Sav saying there in the Discord, I would, but I've got dinner. Yeah, that's fair enough. That is fair enough. I'd rather not let his food get to waste rather than anything else, and rather than not speak to me and then have his food literally when he's trying to speak. As you have asked what's for dinner, we'll find out eventually. Wilson saying as well, oh, he's having burger and chips as Wilson.
Oh, okay. Yes.
Okay. Very, very interesting indeed. Burger and chips. I rate that. That is a very good choice, I think, from Wilson's perspective on that. We wait on Legend. Legend is not normally, I don't believe, available for interviews, but we will wait on him. That is the interview done between the top three. That is for sure. In the end, though, what was a fantastic race. I really hope you enjoyed that, by the way, in the comment section. If you did, like, comment, subscribe. Tick that notification bell, of course, if you're brand new to the channel. And whatever happens next week, we are going to be in for an absolute treat with 21 points separating the two teams of Talent Factory and PSR coming into tonight. It is going to be a fantastic, fantastic race to watch next week in Brazil. And yes, I did say tonight, and no, we are not getting a second race tonight, much to the dismay, I know, of our chat who wants to see the battle between Talent Factory and PSR. But we are pretty much, I think, going to end it off there. Big thank you to Mr. Joseph for joining me in the commentary box. Have you enjoyed yourself?
Yeah, it's been a pleasure, mate. Thanks for having me.
You are very welcome indeed. Pleasure, of course, alongside you in the commentary box as well. Jota will be back next week, we believe, for the finale in Saudi Arabia, which is going to be, of course, the final round of the championship in Jeddah. We cannot wait to bring you the action then. I really hope you're going to be with us on that journey and to see who will crown their legacy. And with that, thank you so much for watching, and of course from our advert sponsors with the advert of the Williams Esports Lounge, of course. From our sponsors, you can catch in the description below. Big thank you from myself and from Joseph. We'll end off here, and we'll see who can crown their legacies. Big thank you to everyone, and yeah, I'm just waffling on. I don't know how to end this stream. Thank you so much for watching, and until next time, goodbye.